planning ahead, being aware of what those meals are going to entail for the week, planning for snacks. All of those things can really save us money and, as we've talked about before, save us calories too.
Avoiding the center aisles as much as possible and sticking to the outside of the grocery store generally gives you the biggest nutrition bang for your buck. However, there's a lot more that we can be doing to stretch our food budget. On today's Sound Living, navigating the grocery store. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. K-State Research and Extension Nutrition Specialist Sandy Procter says that grocery shopping should really start at home, with planning meals and snacks, looking to see what food items we already have, and then making a list of the things we need.
That's exactly right. You know, when you go to a store and you have a list, you're much more likely to buy what's on the list and stick to the list. But even before that, before we make a list, there's some things that we need to just sort of consciously, an exercise we need to go through on a regular basis, plan the meals. Think about what it is that you're actually going to buy groceries for. And then before you make that list, check and see what you've already got on hand. You know, do you have half the pasta that you need, or do you have the canned vegetables that are part of the recipe already on hand so you don't need to buy more and that you don't miss something important that you're going to end up having to either change the recipe or go back to the store or something less efficient than what the whole process was set up for in the first place.
And also cut down on that food waste that we're so concerned with.
Absolutely. It just makes a lot of sense. If you've got something that can be substituted, say a half a jar of pasta sauce in the refrigerator that really needs to be used up, is there some way that you can substitute that in the recipe, get it used up, get it out of there, not waste it, and save money in the process?
What are some other things that we recommend in terms of making this a better, more efficient process?
Well, I really do think that taking time to plan your meals and then look at the recipes that are going to be involved with that to make sure that you have every ingredient so that that process, beyond shopping, that the cooking process goes smoothly and it becomes a success. You make something that has good flavor because you had all the parts and pieces that went with it, and it's a success. And that reinforces then, I think, cooking and eating at home when you're successful with the process of it. And that helps us save money. So sometimes I think really just planning ahead, being aware of what those meals are going to entail for the week, planning for snacks, all of those things can really save us money. And as we've talked about before, save us calories too.
In terms of doing the actual shopping, what can we do when we arrive at the store to make this, I guess, as quick and painless as possible?
Well, you know, this is a real kind of art form that we teach a lot of our nutrition ed participants, is that going to the grocery store really, if you think about the process of it, it can be really helpful. So make your list, and maybe you even make it in the order that you're going to encounter things in the store so that it's easy to follow your list, or group your like foods. We help them with a sort of a pre-prep list where they fill in things, but they're grouped by like type foods. And so your produce is all listed together. Don't have your apples at the top, but down at the bottom is onions. So you're going and retracing steps in the store. So you can think about the layout of the store. I've often heard that some of the healthiest foods are around the perimeter of the store. For example, produce when you get there, and then the dairy foods, and then, you know, meats and juices along the back. And, you know, one grocery store in town, I always have to laugh because the one thing people probably go in for the most, the gallon of milk, is in the far back corner. You have to pass every single solitary thing in the store to get to that. And so having that list and having it laid out in order and knowing the store can be really helpful.
When we're trying to save some money, I have a note here that says, look down. We're not looking for quarters, although you might find some spare change occasionally, but some of the better deals are down low.
It's often the case that if you look about your eye level, you're going to see name brands. You're going to see the trendy product that's right there. Here's an example. In my section of the grocery store, I don't use the Keurig cups. We have a regular coffee pot. And so for me, it's now becoming an increasingly smaller section where I look for bagged coffee. And the kind I like isn't one of the ones that's, you know, got a real notable name brand or something. And so I oftentimes have to look down and bend over a little bit to get what I'm looking for, but it saves money and it's a quality that we are happy with. And so I think of that when it says to look down, look around and see if there's a store brand or a generic brand that is perfectly useful for what you're going to do with it and can save you money.
I think you also talk with your nutrition education folks a lot about comparing labels, and you will notice that if you do that, a lot of the cheaper brands, the less expensive brands, have the same ingredients as the more expensive brands.
I like doing that a lot with cereals and with canned vegetables particularly, and I notice that there is sometimes a marked difference in the amount of salt or sugar that's been added. And with cereals, it's kind of interesting. Some of those have lots of added nutrients, and others will be a lot less added, more just the grain itself. And in some cases, that's good, but we know that some of those added nutrients, like folic acid and some of those things, are really a benefit, especially as we age. Maybe B12 is another one that we look for. And so there's some real benefits to some of those added nutrients. And so, as always, and I think I can get to this point on every single radio show I've ever done, reading the label really does serve us well. And in grocery shopping, it's no different. It can really help you decide, is this really a money saving, or is this something that I'd rather not pay extra for? Like, is there more sugar in this per serving in this brand than this brand? And so maybe this costs a penny more, but nutritionally it's going to be something that I feel better about.
A lot of stores have gone to some sort of a rewards program these days. Along with that, there's digital coupons. There's different ways that you can pick up your groceries. How involved do we need to be along those lines? Because I know the digital coupons, for one thing, and the rewards cards do save.
They do. And I really think they're out there to get people at different stages and ages to see who's really willing to do what where. I noticed that the other day, that if I had downloaded ahead of time a digital coupon, it would have saved me even more on this product. And so I thought, I need to check that out. I need to find out more about that. A lot of people I know where time is of the utmost and they have large families have found that calling ahead or doing their shopping online and then picking up their groceries at the door really works well for them. They need a minimum order, but they're going to have that anyway. And so picking up those groceries at the door saves them a lot of time. For some people, it may physically be a lot easier for them to accomplish, to sit and shop, make a list, shop, and then drive up and have it packed into their vehicle. For others, I know, and I've heard this several times, I really want to touch the produce. I really want to see what I'm getting. I enjoy the process. So I don't think there's a one solution for everyone, but I do think it's important to know what's available out there in case situations change.
Do you have any advice for avoiding those impulse items? Because that was my New Year's resolution, was to cut way back on buying things that aren't on the list unless it's a super sale.
I think making a list is going to help a lot. You know that you've thought it through, and really everything you need is on that list. That's one thing. Another thing, and this is tried, but it's true, don't shop when you're hungry. This is a really bad time, I think, right after work for me. I'm hungry. Everybody else in town is there at the same time. I'm frustrated by the sheer inability to get around the store, and I'm hungry. I'm more tempted to pick up on, that sounds good, or, we could use this. We haven't had this for a while, instead of, here's my list, here's what I need. I should have done this some other time, and I could be not even in this shopping situation right now. So I kind of think that planning ahead and really trying very consciously to not shop when you're hungry are two things that can really save you money and cut down on some of those impulse buys.
Really, a lot of things we can do. It's just kind of a matter of taking ownership of this and being in charge of your grocery shopping.
It's kind of like what we talk about with weight management, too. It's like we will eat. Meals will come around again. We can sort of put it out of our mind and figure, we're just going to deal with it when it comes. But that's usually going to make us less than prepared, not have the ingredients, and more likely to say, let's just go out and eat. I haven't got what I need. I haven't got the time. It's not thought through. And instead, by taking that process in hand and having, meals, if not completely lined out, at least rough sketches. It's Tuesday. We're going to have this casserole, and I have a pound of hamburger on hand for that. Just having some of those details worked out ahead of time are really going to save you a lot of time, a lot of energy. and money as well, because you're going to end up being able to cook at home, plan in leftovers, and really save on all kinds of things, food waste, on your groceries. And I think one of the biggest commodities that you save is time.
We always like to talk about the fact that everything is a learning experience. And if you have kids, taking them to the grocery store may seem like a nightmare, maybe something you don't want to do, but it's really something that you need to be doing, at least from time to time.
And it's true. You know, there are definitely two sides to this discussion. We used to always tell, especially moms that were trying to get the control of their grocery budget, that it's really hard to tell a kid that's reaching, I want this, and having to negotiate. You can have one thing before we check out, you know, sort of this whole thing while you're trying to concentrate on buying what's on your list and making a wise purchase. And isn't it nice how grocery stores have really helped us with that, where they have these nice produce displays that say, here, have a piece of fruit for your child while you shop. To me, that does such a nice thing. For one, it gives them something to eat. They look forward to it. Two, it gives them something to concentrate on while you're making at least some of your purchases. And it sort of instills that that's the kind of snack that you get when you go to the grocery store. Those are the kinds of things that you can look forward to. And I think teaching kids early that fruit is a healthy snack is a really good lesson. That is just one of the lessons that they can pick up on while they're at the grocery store.
And it does kind of give them a little bit more background on how some of the recipes are made, how things are put together, so they maybe understand a little bit better what they're actually eating for dinner.
Yeah, and you know, to say, well, now look at this. This one is this many for this, you know, as the child gets a little older, and this one is this. Well, what do you think is the better buy? And you can put that out there and have somebody thinking about that, or have them comparing two similar boxes of cereal as they get able to read and make some decisions. And I think some of those skills are ones that, you know, sort of teens and slightly older young adults that are out on their own maybe haven't ever taken the time or had the opportunity to really learn some of those skills. It doesn't mean that you have to have your kids along every time. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but it can be a positive thing. But it is, you know, one of those places where ideally you're able to get in, get what's on your list, and get out. But that can be a real teachable moment for kids as well.
One more thing I wanted to mention was the fact that you had mentioned good storage, because, again, that's a way to make sure that those purchases last longer.
Yes, and buying in bulk can be a really good thing if we have a way to store whatever it is and then make it work for us. A good example of this for me is when you can buy 12 chicken breasts, for just practically nothing. Well, the size of my family now, 12 chicken breasts, is going to last us quite a long time. But when I get those home, I make a point of repacking them in freezer bags, 1 or 2 at a time, depending on how I think I can use them, and sometimes 2 and sometimes 1, and use them for different things, and then putting them right into the freezer. That way, they're there. They're pretty quick fix if I want to make a soup or a casserole, and can be pulled out and defrosted in the microwave and put into something right away. And it makes it really cost effective. But if you buy something that's a large money-saving size and then you don't have the capacity to store it, whether that's refrigeration or freezer or even dry storage where you can keep it in a sealed container and it's going to last for a long time, then if the quality goes bad, it becomes food waste. And we've got a lot of problem with that, and it no longer is cost effective. It would make more sense and save more money to buy a smaller size package. So it really needs to really make sense for your own situation. And I would recommend some of those storage containers. I've found myself making sure that I have both the more permanent storage boxes and containers as well as bags of all types, like before a holiday dinner, because it's very important to me that if that is at my house, that I not only can store things that are leftovers, but send some home with people and have just the right container or bag or box that can say, no, you take it, it's yours, and, it'll make the trip safely. So I think planning ahead on that is a good way to make those larger packages cost-effective and also to prevent food waste.
That's K-State Research and Extension Nutrition Specialist Sandy Procter. More information on grocery shopping is available online at www.ksre.ksu.edu. and at all county and district extension offices. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.